Hello, and welcome to the show. On today's episode of IWCTV NOW, we'll be looking into the forms of entertainment on the island for teenagers and the funding for these activities. Over the years, several generations have enjoyed the entertainment features of arcades, nightclubs, piers and social clubs that have provided the opportunity for groups to get together and have fun at any time of the day. But that has changed. The closure of some of the most beloved venues like Colonel Bogey's Arcade and Sandown's Giant Slide have been just the start of several businesses shutting down. Daytime activities like adventure parks and go-karting are more accessible, but deemed too expensive for teenagers to afford regularly. Students on the island are more stressed than ever, so the need for relaxation is extremely important. However, there's only a few places to go without spending large amounts of money. This has resulted in teenagers becoming more involved in youth crime on the island, and we will see how this has affected the police and what volunteer groups are doing to tackle this issue. In a moment, I'll be talking to a council member and a police constable to understand the views on this topic. But first, let's take a listen report from our correspondent, Kira Highsmith.
Teenagers. They strive for entertainment and stimulation. School pressures are high, especially in the upcoming exam season, and relaxation time is more needed than ever. So what do teenagers do on this island? Adventure parks, beaches, arcades, piers, these are all valid activities to do, but they are losing popularity. Volunteer groups like Scouting and youth clubs are doing their best to keep afloat, to allow children and teens to come together, socialise and work towards a positive impact in their lives. These organisations require funding to keep their venue and equipment functional. So how important are these clubs to the youth of the island, and how do the organisations regulate the funding availability? While conducting a survey aimed at teenagers, we discovered the following information. 50% said that the activities are limited and expensive. 80% said that there isn't enough affordable entertainment. 40% spent their weekends clubbing or at a pub, but these are usually over 18s only. 50% said that more entertainment facilities on the island would change what they do in a regular weekend. We also asked what new facilities they would like to see on the island, and they did not disappoint. In terms of funding, the Isle of Wight Council commissioned money to be put into the youth groups of the island, but this ended in 2018, resulting in town councils having to fund the groups in their area. In Newport, there are groups that are funded by the town council.
Not actually run a youth club myself, but I've been involved with Pete Luther, who's got the Newport Youth Cafe. So I used to go down when it was in Lower St James's Street, and we actually support, the parish council support that cafe. I think it's about £16,000 we're giving for April the 1st this year. So we've directly funded through the parish council. So the parish council's funded for what's called a precept, which is, for want of a better word, tax that's levied on the property holders of Newport. Was that Newport sort of really is the youth capital of the island. We've got 6,000 young people that are being educated, for instance, as well as people that are living here in Newport every day. So it's really important that Newport can be a focus for young people's activities.
It is clear that the council is a major part of funding these groups of activities, but this funding group is getting smaller due to the decreasing popularity of these groups. The local money just isn't coming in. So why are these groups decreasing in popularity? And what does that say about the population of teenagers that are turning a blind eye to the efforts of the council? This is Kira Highsmith for IWCTV NOW.
Today, I'm joined by Paul Brading, the Cabinet Member for Children's Services at the Isle of Wight Council, and Martin Egerton, a Newport Police Constable. Thank you for coming and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So Paul, I'll come to you first. What has been the impact on central government cuts for services of young people on the island?
Government cuts are never welcomed and they're never easy to deal with, and yes, they have an impact, of course they have. From the Isle of Wight Council's perspective, we've done really well with the budgets that we've got to keep going with the services we have to deliver, whilst at the same time working very hard on the youth, because I'm passionate that the youth need to have the right facilities to use. We did had a youth funding offer. We had to withdraw that, but we've worked very hard with town and parish councils, businesses on the island. I'll give you some examples in a moment to make sure that youth facilities do continue.
Has this had an impact on the local council's ability to offer services to young people?
Yeah, it has. I mean, if you look at the most vulnerable people, our children in care and our care leavers that I spend a lot of my portfolios about, We still maintain 9 children's centres on the Isle of Wight, which is as many as Hampshire have got. So we're doing well to maintain those and offer services. We're working very hard with our health centres, schools. We're putting facilities in schools, give after school clubs, etc, etc. There's a new football pitch going into Cowes at the moment. Well, town and parish councils are working hard to maintain the youth clubs that they've got by linking them with local businesses. And there's some great examples of youth clubs on the Isle of Wight that are doing really, really well and thriving.
There is a lot of controversy about the ice rink and ride, a popular venue for young people. What are council's plans for that, and will it be returning for use?
The ice rink is an ongoing issue. I know you've had Councillor Wayne Whittle on the show, who's a ride parish councillor and passionate about the ice rink, as is our MP. It's a fantastic facility. We've got some fantastic skating teams and ice hockey teams there. At the moment, it's an illegal battle between the owners, but it's a battle the Isle of Wight Council will win, because it's a great facility that has to be returned to use. It's just frustrating that it takes so much time when it gets to the legal side of things. It takes a long time to get to the end result, but absolutely the ice rink must and will be returned to use the community.
Yeah. So, for both of you, do you think the island's entertainment may be at a possible disadvantage because of its seasonal framing, and what could be done to offset this?
I think, yes, of course. We have places like Blackdown, Robin Hill, they do close for the winter. Their seasons are extending. I know Robin Hill are looking to put in some water facilities up there, which will be open a lot longer. So the season's getting longer, but that does leave, of course, the months over the winter where we're looking at the youth clubs. That's, I think, are the option for the children to go to. But there are other clubs. When I was growing up, there was your Boys Brigade, your Scouts, your Brownies, your Cadets. So I encourage youngsters to get involved in that, because that's where you build up your friendships, learn your life skills. And for the quieter, wetter winter months when the island's not at its best. But I think the season's getting longer for the existing facilities, and we're trying to encourage them to stay open longer.
And I would reiterate that as well. I mean, it's very noticeable from the policing perspective.
Yeah.
So in the winter months, there's not many places for them to go. So actually, by having sort of longer seasons, I think it'd be a lot better in the long run. There's just nothing there. It seems like as soon as September comes and goes, as soon as the sort of what used to be the festival used to finish, it's almost like the island turns off its lights and everything plunges into darkness. Come sort of Easter time, everything sort of brightens up and opens up, and we start all over again. But during those sort of 4 or 5 months, there's not a lot out there ready for the kids.
No, you see investment in the like the Heights and Medina. There's those types of issues where money's heavily invested.
Yeah, and I think really as well, it's actually sort of opening up sort of the dialogue with the youth of today, saying although sort of the main things or theme parks shut, actually there are things a bit further afield. You just need to look into it and actually look where you want to go. But there are youth clubs, like you say, Paul. It's, they just need to take that responsibility themselves, thinking actually if I can't do this, what do I do instead of going into town?
Okay. Some really interesting opinions. In a moment, we'll be focusing more on the impact of teenagers having a lack of facilities. But first, let's see this report by our correspondent, Kira Highsmith.
Known for its wandering white cliffs and peaceful countryside, the Isle of Wight has an overall retirement home aesthetic. This island would seem like one of the calmest places on earth. Well, you'd be wrong. According to current Hampshire police statistics, the island is the 13th highest crime-rated area on a list of 55 English and Welsh counties. Verbal abuse, street drinking and antisocial behaviour are the most common forms of crime on the island, and teenagers do commit them. In June 2018, antisocial behaviour offences reached 116 cases, and violent behaviour had 412 cases reported. July 2018 saw 126 antisocial behaviour cases, and for violent behaviour, 80 more cases were reported, making it 492 cases in 1 month. The total crime across the island in these months reached 1,000, and there is no coincidence that these months are when teenagers finish school for summer. Earlier this year, police were called to the Newport McDonald's to investigate a disruption caused by a group of teenagers. They were allegedly throwing rocks at passing cars as they drove past the fast food chain that evening. A mother reported a rock hitting the windscreen of her car with her 2-year-old child inside. It had come from the roofs of another building next door. She also said that her car was found by a boy and a girl who proceeded to film her and the child whilst laughing hysterically. The woman and child were left shaken but unhurt from the incident. This is not the first call of disturbances from McDonald's. Earlier that week, the police were called to question the teenagers outside who had reported exhibiting antisocial behaviour and ended up arresting two 16-year-old boys. So why are teens attracted to the McDonald's area specifically? There is speculation that McDonald's has free Wi-Fi which the teens can access when they are out. It is also a social place in Newport and the food is affordable on a daily basis. The police have found a way to tackle this crime. Operation Varney is a social media group that plans activities and campaigns against antisocial behaviour. Could this be a solution to the problems? Could this be due to the lack of entertainment and stimulation, or are young people simply just looking to get in trouble for the fun of it? The answers will remain unclear. This is Kira Highsmith for IWCTV Now. Back to you in the studio.
So now we will be focusing more on the crime aspect of this issue. So, Martin, has the police force noticed any rise or fall in youth crime over the past couple of years?
I haven't got the statistics with me at the moment, but I would say that the problem has always been there. The issue we had at the beginning of the year with the rock throwing incident that we saw on the VT, that really sort of publicised actually there is an issue, and a lot of it is around sort of public perception. The issue I think has always been there, and it seems to be that every 18 months to 2 years we have a new cohort of sort of juveniles or youths that come into town and causes problems. But in the past we've always dealt with them quite low key and they've been interviewed or dealt with. But what happened this time around, actually with the rock throwing incident, it actually sort of hit the media, had a lot of public interest, and people were standing up saying, actually, this is an issue, what are the police doing about this? So that's why we sort of, dealt with that at the beginning of the year. But I think
I'll add one thing to that. I asked for some statistics because I was concerned about, the reports of the youth crime, and I got some data over the last 5 years. My Director of Children's Services, our youth crime on the island is really low. If you compare it to Hampshire, obviously we work in partnership with Hampshire, their figures are much, much bigger and they're much more of a problem. It's just on the Isle of Wight, as much as it's perception. Any incident on the Isle of Wight hits the front page of the paper, and the perception is we've got a youth crime problem. We ideally want no youth crime at all, but we have got, and the trend has gone down over the last 5 years.
And it is the actions of a few that spoil it for the many.
Yeah.
It's actually, we've got a small cohort of about 8 or 9 individuals that go into town with the intention of causing problems. And unfortunately, they're sort of causing problems for everyone else because everyone's else is being tarred with the same brush. But actually, they are known to us, we are dealing with them, and the problem has kind of dissipated for the time being. We have to bear in mind that the island is a beautiful place, it's a very safe place, so public perception would play a big part in what we're doing.
And the key thing you said is the individuals are known. It's not like we don't know who's doing these things.
So they are on the radar and they are being dealt with.
So could you tell us just what Operation Varney is?
So Operation Varney was launched last April, and that was to response to problems in the Newport bus station. To put things sort of basically, it's a lot of sort of patrol strategies in place, so sort of making sure officers are out there at certain times of the day. What we've been looking at is something called a problem analysis triangle, sorry. So it looks at 3 different aspects. So you've got the location, the offender, and the victim, and that's the way we sort of come at it to sort of deal with any sort of local issues. So if we can't identify the offender and tackle the offender, we look at changing the environment. So what we've done at the moment, we've spoken with the library. You might have noticed all the Harris fencing going up down the side of the library, just to try and prevent people from sitting in the alcoves. And that really came about as people moaning to sort of the police and the councillors saying, actually, we feel intimidated by walking past the library. The location's not fit for service. We have complaints from bus drivers saying, actually, no, they're not waiting for buses, or if they are, they're waiting for 2 or 3 hours, going to McDonald's, coming back and just waiting around. And again, it was that public perception of actually, these groups look really intimidating. So I spoke to the library, they put the Harris fencing up down the sides of the library. That's going to get replaced, I think, within the next month or 2 with proper fencing, or proper fencing is going down the side of the alcoves. It also looks at sort of dealing with the big businesses, so McDonald's, I think you've got a question there for later on, is actually, we've spoken to the local businesses and saying, actually, what are you doing to help us sort of tackle this issue? And we've identified it's not a policing issue, it's not a policing problem, it's everybody's problem. So everyone has to sort of do their bit really to sort of negate that. So McDonald's said actually in Hampshire and Portsmouth, they've had ASB issues before. They started playing sort of classical music from 4 o'clock in the afternoon and they turn off the Wi-Fi. Because we've, as you identified in the VT, a lot of the kids do go there for the free Wi-Fi. So from 7 o'clock onwards now, they turn off the Wi-Fi and start playing classical music. So it's a step in the right direction. So what Op does really is identify where there's an issue and what we can do to combat it. So it could be foot patrols, it could be speaking with the local businesses, and identifying the offenders. So we might be going around to the home addresses, speaking with mum and dad. Do you know where your children are? Do you know what they're up to? And also going into the schools as well and actually delivering that awareness, saying actually there's a problem in Newport at the moment. Do you know where your kids are going? Do you know what they're up to? Actually try and keep them away from town while we deal with this issue. So it's really bringing everybody into this big community sort of problem-solving triangle and sort of using everyone to sort of deal with it.
Generally has to be a combined approach because the police on their own can't solve it, the schools can't, but it's working together.
Why do you think young people are attracted to these specific places such as McDonald's?
I think at the moment, because we touched on the Wi-Fi already, but McDonald's is in the heart of Newport, so you've got these sort of the bus routes in and out. They're only literally a minute's walk from the bus route. So I think specifically at McDonald's, it is the heart of the town. You know, it's got monopoly of the street, it's got South Street and St James's Street that runs through it. You know, that is where they gather. But I think really it is the free food, like Kira said on the VT, and the Wi-Fi. That's the main attraction. Interesting, the library used to have Wi-Fi, but they now switched it off. So I wonder whether or not the children are coming from the library and now going over to McDonald's to use their Wi-Fi.
Paul, as a councillor, what do you do to coordinate with the police to try and reduce these issues? And is there more that could be done?
I think the council and the police work really closely together. As I said earlier, it's not one solution to a problem. So we talk regularly. The leader of the council and the police commissioner, they regularly talk and have meetings to try and sort out any problems in Newport. Primarily in Newport, that's where it mostly happens. But it happens on all around the other island as well. So it's about getting more police, working to make sure the police are where they need to be, make sure people report instances. I think one of the problems is if police don't know what's happening, they can't deal with it. There's instances regarding beach huts being broken into by youths in the Bay area. The police want us to report those instances, not to overwork them, because if they know it's happening, then they can shift their attention to a problem that may be happening elsewhere. Because the youths may be this time of year more on the revetment between Sandown and Shanklin, causing havoc down there, which they regularly do. Police can't be everywhere, can't have CCTV everywhere, so communication and dialogue is absolutely key.
And we do find on the island that people under-report crimes. So if something happens, do you know what, I'm not going to bother the police, they're busy enough. So they don't report it. But actually, by reporting it, it makes us aware that there's an issue. If we don't know, we can't do anything with it. So it's really important that people do keep us in the loop, report things to us.
You're not wasting time. If they're reporting a genuine crime, it's absolutely right to do so, because the police will log it, track it, monitor it, we'll feed into that, so we know what's going on our island.
Some really interesting opinions there. Be sure to join us next week for our report on music on the Isle of Wight. What do you think? Have your say over on Twitter using the hashtag #EntertainerTeens. But for now, it's goodbye from my guests, and it's goodbye from me.
Thank you.
Goodbye.